I'm gonna look a man. Look a man.
Do you look like a man?
Yeah.
You're all man. Why don't you hand me my phone so we can do the
Yes, nicely.
Instagram part? IGTV. Let's do this. Doot. Where's my headset? Oh, there it is. Totally getting by.
I was supposed to. Can you remind me after I type it?
What's that?
I like that. The show's on their screen right
Paranormal
now.
Mysteria. What? What?
Why are they posting that?
I don't know. I'm not gonna yell at them though.
Ew, icky.
Right? Like, what's up with that? Add a title.
Boo boo.
I think my my algorithm is much different than yours.
Let's look at my algorithm. Mine is like, I'm not even kidding, 75% bats.
Bats?
Bats. Oh, I don't like that guy. It's like cringy stuff. It's like...
Why would it be bats?
Okay, you actually want to know?
Sure. Can I have my tea while you tell me though? Because it sounds like this is gonna be a crazy...
Well, not really, but like... Okay, so I was scrolling... It was like 1 in the morning, right? I'm scrolling through my Instagram.
So you should have been in bed.
Guys, we got this pumpkin spice candle because it's... What's the date today? 30th?
30th.
It's July 30th, and that means summer's almost over, so basically that means fall's almost here, so we got a candle. Anyway, basically I was scrolling through Instagram at like 1 in the morning, and I was talking to Ethan, and I got like a picture of like a bat, right? Or like one of those things is like, if only I could be like a bat or something like that. And then it was like a picture of a bat, and I was like, oh my god, you look like this bat. Like, I was tripping. I was like, this bat looks like you. Like, I'm not even kidding. And it was like, oh, that's funny. And so now we have a joke that every time I see a bat picture, like on Instagram or TikTok, I just send it to him, and he's like, oh, where'd you get this video of me or something like that? Yeah. And then because like my algorithm, for some reason now it thinks I love bats, so it gives me bats.
Can we do it like tilty somehow to get you in there? Just lean towards me, maybe.
It's okay. I don't have to be.
Well, then why you do it like that then? If you don't want to be in it.
I don't have to be next to you. Look.
I don't even know what that means.
Turn on correct browsing. Okay.
Okay. So I'm really focusing on me anyway. Because I'm the star of this show, not you. You ready?
Yeah.
Really? Seriously? Emotionally, physically you are?
Yeah. As long as nobody doesn't like hack my phone.
I think they're going to.
Really? Bro, I just got this phone.
I don't think they have. Well, I mean, tonight is a strange night for phones. My name is Christopher Balzano.
My name is Ella Balzano.
Can you get a little bit closer?
I just almost
you can get a little
got
bit closer to me on the.
Rachel.
Get a little close. There we go. And welcome to Tripping on Legends, episode 132, Cursed Calls. And this is an episode that I've been researching for a really long time. I feel like I've been researching it for 6 months. Not that, and I really wish Deanna was here, because the file on this episode is so ridiculously thick. Like, even look how many pages it is of notes. I mean, that's just like the beginning of it. And that's not even focusing on the beginning parts that we're going to be focusing on. We are your campfire in the crossroads. And now, for those of you guys who have been following us on social media, do you know the show's social media?
Spooky Tripping.
Good. Excellent. On Instagram, it's Spooky Tripping. Facebook, it's facebook.com/trippingonlegends. And I was just signed for a Haunted Southwest Florida book. So another book in the Haunted series. But instead of being way out in the Ocala, it is nearby. So there are going to be able to be legend trips that go along with some of these places. Why are you hiding yourself?
I'm tired.
You're the one who was like, let's do this.
I know.
So there are some legend trips coming up, and definitely some stories that I haven't covered because I'm dying to know if other people have had experiences there, things like that. Want to welcome the people who are on IGTV, even though you can't see Ella, and the people who are on Facebook Live. This is one of those episodes that I want to think of as interactive. So if you are listening to this on podcast, and you can get the podcast everywhere you get them, if you're listening to this on podcast, I want you to have a notebook, a pen, or at least your phone in the notes section open, because I want you to be able to do what we're doing and to explore some of these, because this whole episode is about cursed numbers, right? And these cursed numbers are either historically cursed or they're promotions that people have out and things like that. And so it's one of those things where even if we don't get a call, and there are some of these that text you or call you hours later. And so, yes, you are having homework in that I want you guys to be as interactive with this episode as possible. Maybe not while you're listening to us. So normally we say people can call up and try to talk to us during the show. Can't do that tonight because every device we have on is going to be used for some kind of media having to do with this.
Even mine.
Especially yours. And in addition to that, if any of these go off, like last episode we did, remember the whole Facebook just like went totally off, like powered down. Yeah. We were what, 9 hours without power today? And we were actually getting ready to send her home, or not home, but to her mom's house. When we came home and all the power was back on. And so we were like, okay, we charged things as much as we could in the time. So if any of these go off, it's either some demonic force from beyond, or it is just, we could get to charge devices. I come from a unique generation. More than you, Ella, no offense. More than some other people that are out there, in that the phone has evolved as I've grown older, right? We were, as she's talking on her smartwatch, like that's a great example. When I first grew up, it was ring dial, like the rotary dial was still being used. In the town that I lived in New Hampshire, this is crazy. In the town that I lived in New Hampshire, when I was in like first grade, second grade, you didn't even have to dial the first three numbers of a phone number. Now, Ella right now is saying the first three numbers because she doesn't know like the whole concept of 9-digit dialing or 10-digit dialing. You used to be able to. My phone number was 2772. Like you could call my phone number from another phone number in town, and you would only have to dial the last four numbers. We were the first generation that like the phone became an accessory to your personality, right? See-through phones, funky phones, things like that. Like your goal was to get a phone in your room, which was unheard of previous to that, right? A phone in your room was like the ultimate teenage accessory of your life, right? Then we got our flip phones. If you were of the Zach Morris,
he's trash.
I knew you were going to say something. Generate, like, if you had that kind of demographic, you maybe had the big bulk cell phones, right? Like the block phones. And then we had flip phones and Motorola's and pagers. And then, of course, now iPhones, Androids, things like that, huh?
I look weird.
You look amazing. So we really had the whole spectrum. We've experienced, in my generation, the phone evolution. And through all of those stages, phones have been creepy. Can you think of any creepy movie you've seen, Ella, with phones?
Probably like a couple.
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
Scream,
right? Like, Scream is...
Black Phone. Yes,
Black Phone, yeah. I totally forgot about Black Phone. Like, Scream
jump
to
back,
me...
Jump forward, jump back, and swing.
Scream to me is, like, the ultimate... that first 20 minutes. Now, if you've ever seen Scream, and if you haven't seen Scream...
What are you doing?
What's going on with that in the world? Why are you listening to this show if you've never seen Scream?
If you've never seen Scream, go watch it.
Go watch it. Shut this off. Scream is so much better than us. I'm getting there. Scream, that first section of Scream, that first Drew Barrymore is really a callback to a movie called When a Stranger Calls. See, I got you there. And When a Stranger Calls was what, Carol Kane, and it was originally a. If you've ever seen the movie, everyone knows about the movie. Like, have you checked the children? Like that whole concept of the babysitter and gets the phone call, and they gotta check the kids, and there's a serial killer or murder upstairs. The phone call's coming from inside the house. That was actually a student film, and it was so freaky and scary that they expanded into a movie. So if you've ever seen that movie, a lot of people know the movie, but not a lot of people have necessarily seen it. We watched all three of them, my sister and I, one weekend, like back in the day. It's totally, you can tell that it's a little movie made into a big one. Terrifying. And then Scream, Drew Barrymore. What's your favorite scary movie? You know, and that running throughout the house. And I come from a very specific generation who bought CDs of the Jerky Boys, who spent a lot of their time making prank phone calls. Ella, did you know this? I know you know that we used to call people. We used to call people and say, you know, like, why isn't my daughter allowed in the school play? And then it's one of the things we also used to do is when we got answering machines, we would call and we would say, like, we would read books, and we would say they were being charged like every 5 minutes they were being charged like $20. However crazy it is, yes, the 900 sex numbers. Like, we grew up in a time where as we were hitting puberty, there were these mysterious 900 numbers where you could call and you could either hear recordings of sexual things or participate in them, right? And this was just literally a phone call away. It was right across the room. It was especially if now you were getting phones in your room, and then the bill came and everything was freaked out. And then there was and some of the things we're going to talk about kind of are the next generation of this. I remember very specifically calling the Freddy Krueger line, the Friday the 13th phone line. It was a 900 number every single day. Sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street. Every single day I used to call and be like, all right, like, and I used to give my allowance to my mom. I used to give my allowance to my mom so that I could spend it on these phone calls, calling, listening to creepy stories from Freddy Krueger. And it was a thing. And through it all, there was a mystique to the phone. And this is why phone calls and the creepiness of phone calls, I think, is allowed to kind of go through and be this thread through so much of modern horror. How the hell does a phone work? Right? Like, did you understand? Like, we understand. Have you seen all those things? It's like, isn't it amazing how the internet works? It's really, I mean, we can explain it and stuff like that, and we would nod our heads, but it really is this version of us that's not a version of us. And it hits on three really weird things. The first is, it's energy, right? Even though we don't fully understand it, the layperson, phones are energy, ghosts are energy, so there's an automatic connection. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but the second thing is, phones allow people who are not with us to come into our house. They come into our world, and you can easily blur the line that they're there with you. And that becomes really frightening. That becomes really scary when you think about it. Normally it's a good thing, right? You're talking to someone, the person you like, a friend, family that you haven't seen, right? You're talking, it's comforting. But then there's that idea that someone can look into your world using your phone. And that used to be a huge part of prank calls. The obscene phone call, right? Or the idea of like, I'm watching you. I'm here. I'm watching you. Right? And you knew they weren't. Right? You knew that people would call and they would say the creepiest things, or maybe you're the kind of person who was doing the calling, and they would say the creepiest things, and you knew they weren't there. You knew that, but there was always that moment that it was, what if they are, right? That scream thing where she's like, I want to know who, when the, Ghostface says, I want to know who I'm looking at, right?
I like that.
and what that was me?
Yeah,
what
you have like the phone where it's like,
oh, that's crazy.
Like, if you do like thumbs up, it does like a
yeah.
If you do like that, like
I was doing the phone signature, and then the third thing, which is probably the oddest one, and I've talked to Ella about the psychology of this. When you got a phone call that was a prank phone call, whether it was, why didn't my daughter make the school play, or whether it was something that was scarier, you didn't hang up. Right? It's a really weird psychology, because you know that it's not for you. You know it's not someone you know that, and yet you don't hang up. Right? Like, that's the beauty. That was why we would have so much fun, is that we would be yelling at these people about not allowing our daughters to be in the school play. And the guy knows he's not a director. And he doesn't hang up. Instead, he's continuously trying to rationalize why he's... That's not me. You got the wrong number. Even this week, I got a text message that said something about, hey, can you watch the dogs for me? Mm-hmm. I'm going out of town. Rebecca, can you watch the dogs for me? And it's felt to me like the beginning of an analog horror. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt to me as that, and I responded, I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. And they were like, you are so kind to tell me. Like, the person started having a conversation with me.
Dude, this happened with Sophia too.
And
she was like, I'm so sorry.
And it's you message back too. It's just this idea. I remember very people saying don't hang up on you. Hang up on me. I'm right outside. And you knew it wasn't true, but you believed it because there was something evasive about the phone, right? It's the mystery of it. It's the connection of it. It's the energy of it. But then it's also this weird look into your soul, look into what you're doing. And that's evolved, right? Like you and I used to watch scammer videos all the time. And people through your phone can get so much information about you, and we don't really know how that works. How they can crack into your computer or into your Wi-Fi from it. Go ahead, read it for me.
So a woman was like, how you doing? She says, good. Who is this? I don't have the number saved. They say, Nancy, don't you remember me? I'm your yoga teacher, Maria. We met just last week. Nancy, when's your next yoga class? Make sure you book in advance. The woman, she's like, sorry, I have the wrong number. And she was like, God damn, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my new student. Please don't mind. I'm so sorry. I hope this didn't take away from your good mood. Your number is 1 digit away. And I was like, you should make her feel better, bro, or something like that. And she's like, it's a scammer.
Well, it could be, right? I just always assume everyone is a scammer all the time. Then there's the paranormal side, right? There's this, there's the crisis apparition. That is a classic. Do you know what a crisis apparition is?
I think so.
Do you want me to explain it, or do you want to try to explain it?
Oh, I think I know.
Go ahead. What is it?
Well, I mean, I'm using context clues.
Okay.
It's like the idea of adrenaline or something making you see something. I don't know.
Oh no, I like your idea though. No, a crisis apparition is a ghost that appears to people who are close to them at the moment of their death. Right? It's almost like they say their last goodbye. They die. They appear on somebody, and so it's like you get phone calls from the dead, from the recently dead, who are trying to tell you that they've moved on, and sometimes that doesn't make sense, right? You realize you're talking to the person. Probably one of my favorite news articles of all time, and this was probably this is when I was doing the Ghost Village news, so 10 years ago now. And it was, in my opinion, the number one ghost story of that year. And it was a train that had crashed. And everyone had died. And hours after the crash, when it was guaranteed that everyone had died, they were literally getting bodies out. The phones from the people who were in the crash were calling their loved ones. But they had already confirmed that everybody was dead. You know what I'm saying? And the phones themselves, when they found them, hadn't gone off. Then there is. Do you remember a few Christmases ago when I told the story about the guy who called the uncle who called his sister to tell her where the birthday present was?
Not really.
Was that on your? It might have been on another Christmas one, but it was a man in Everett, Massachusetts, who he had died in a car accident on his way to his nephew's birthday, and weeks later he left a message on the machine after he had died, telling her where he had left his present, so that she could go get it and give it to him. Stories like that are numerous, and they have this idea, and they hit on us because it's like, our dead people reaching out from beyond. We used to live in this place on Beacon Street in Brighton, right before Boston College, right before Chestnut Hill, and this apartment was crazy haunted. I'm not sure if the story's up there. If it is, I'll have to put it in the notes. And our phone used to ring all the time. And I feel like you're doing some kind of pendulum thing there with that. Our phone used to ring all the time, and where the phone was also where the buzzer was, and the buzzer would go off all the time. And it eventually became one of those things where, we would get ghostly pictures in that same corner. I mean, there's just this connection to it. This is kind of the next generation of this. These are cursed phone calls, right? And we believe them, and we believe all the stories that we're going to hear tonight. I'm going to allow you to decide whether you think these things are frauds or not. Okay? And all of them are said to be urban legends. A lot of the stuff that comes from this there's a ton of websites that I got this stuff from that I'll put in the notes, but a huge portion of it was either confirmed or expanded on by our favorite paranormal website, Ghost in the Machine.
I was going to say it was Ghost in the Machine.
Ghost in Your Machine, and she did an amazing job with this. I'm looking to see what her name is, because I know I wrote her name down as well.
If you're the leader, if you're the maker of Ghost in the Machine, we love you.
Yeah, I can't remember her name right now. But we sell her book because we highly encourage it. We buy it and we sell her book because it's such a crucial part. So Ghost in Your Machine is definitely something. Lucia is her name. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember her last name. She is the shit. Like, I want to marry that woman and have urban legend children with her.
Dad.
So some of these are definitely like promos or things to set up to promote something. But then there are other ones that kind of have this backstory, and they're only urban legends in as much as people are forgetting about them. What's her name?
Lucia Peters.
Lucia Peters, or Lucia, if you're Italian. Are you ready to call these numbers?
Yep.
All right. So some of these first ones that I'm going to call, I'm not going to even tell you what they are.
Okay.
All right. Keep in mind, I am going to put.
Hack my phone,
I am going to put all of these because some of these might still be up and some of them might not. Ready? I don't know why I'm doing this. You don't have your glasses, so.
Yeah, I can't even.
All right. Here's the first number. Ready for this? Here's the first number.
Dad, I'm scared.
618. I'm not going to make you call anything you shouldn't. 618 625 8313.
618 625 8313.
Yep.
Reached the residence of Murray Bauman. Mom, if this is you, please hang up.
I like that.
5 and 6 p.m. as previously discussed. Okay? If this is Joyce.
This is not
Joyce,
scary.
thank you for calling. I've been trying to reach you. I have an update.
This isn't scary.
Okay, so you can hang up on it. You can hang. So that was
it's
one.
the guy from Stranger Things.
Right. It was what they made from Stranger Things, and it's now here's the thing, and this is what's going to happen to a lot of these. When they have them, I'm not sure if it's an Illinois number or an Indiana number. Is it Illinois?
It's Illinois.
Because Beth said it was an Illinois number. Oh, she's from Illinois. There's sometimes a story attached to it in addition to that. So people were calling this number, and then they would get calls from it with growls and with all of these. No, the one that you just got. Like
Oh.
All right, why don't we do this one? 216
You're scaring me. 216, you said?
216.
Oh, you went down one.
Yeah. 333
I like the 3 3s.
1810.
Making me call devil number.
We're sorry. The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service.
Okay, so that was for a video game, an alternate reality game called Year Zero that was made by 9 Inch Nails. And so this one had a whole backstory for it. And the backstory was that they had found this USB at a concert, and they were trying to identify who the person was. And so it's when you called that number, you would hear this girl named Mia, and she would be screaming for her mother to help her, right? And so you would call the number, you would hear the screaming, and that's where it was supposed to end, right? It was just supposed to be this promotional thing. If you look into like the Reddit lines and the 4chan lines, there are people who say they would, days later, after doing that, they would get a call back from a random number in the same area code, and it would be Mia's mother, asking if you know where Mia is.
Dude,
And
you're scaring
things
me.
like that. So, but it didn't even go through. All right, here we go. Ready?
Hold on, I have to turn
So this number, the next number appeared on eBay as a number that you could, it was a phone, right? So you could buy this phone on eBay, and it only would dial one number. And that number was the Bureau of Secret Tourism. And you would call the number, and then there would be quiet. This was actually part of a video game, like an extension of a video game. And
like
then
when they have
an
those.
official would come on, and he would ask you to describe the mysteries of Echo River. So, ready for the number?
Yeah.
All right. 270 404 5797.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. The number you dialed has been changed, disconnected, or is no longer in service. If you
Yikes.
feel you have reached this recording in error,
Is it?
please check the number and try your call again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one's not working. And a lot of these were listed as not working. And the crazy thing is, if you go on to Ghost in Your Machine, you can actually watch YouTube videos of people calling these lines when they were still working. So we'll totally do that. We'll post a link to the page that has these numbers, and it has all the videos on it as well. This one's my favorite. Oh, by the way, on that one, so this is one of those things where I really think this part of its urban legend is that
I like the ending.
they right
Voice described as whimsical.
whimsical.
I like that.
This voice would offer to describe the mysteries of the Echo River, and if you interacted with it at all, and as opposed to just listening, this is once again the story that was like deep into comments and things like that, and became its own urban legend. People would say that if you responded anything then the Men in Black would actually come and visit you. And so a few days after the phone call, you would hear a knock on the door, and you would open
That
up the
was
door,
freaky.
and then the Men in Black would be at your door. This has got to be my favorite because this is also involves a callback. But the callback was planned, and if this one works, this is my ultimate thing. So here's the number. I'm assuming this is a main number. 207.
You're gonna make me call her?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She's gonna
207.
call me back. I don't want her to call me back.
Oh, we love her. Come on. 207.
Oh, should I start? I don't know. She says I should start 6-7.
If you want, yeah, star
Then
67.
it won't call me back. Is
Co-
that what you really want?
Yes, 207. That's why I'm using your phone
Dad,
and not
somebody's
mine.
going to hack my phone.
No one can hack your phone.
Can you read it?
207 404 2604.
I'm scared.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number
You're right.
and dial
Right.
again.
207
No es posible
Yeah.
realizar
404
la llamada tal y como se marcó en el
2604.
favor de verificar.
So this
That
is the
was
one you have to, if you go online and listen to any of these, if you know me, you know I'm obsessed with Carrie.
Yeah.
And I think that Piper Laurie gives one of the great performances of all time as Carrie White's mom. Of all time. Like, the scariest... If you want to see that there's a villain... Have you ever seen Carrie? Like, seen it? If you want to see there's a villain of that movie, it's the mom, right? Carrie would answer the phone. It's doing it again. I gotta go like this. Every time I do a phone thing, that does that. Carrie would answer the phone, and her mom would rip the phone out of her hand and start threatening you. Why are you calling here? You know, you're the devil, blah, 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 blah. And then it would call you back, right? And the mom would be chanting and praying and trying to save your soul by asking you to pray to God, to Jesus along with her, so that you would be impure. I love Carrie. I really wish that one worked, but these are just kind of some of the ones that were like, oh, ha, 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 fun to call. What we're going to do is...
Those were the fun ones?
Oh, they get weirder. So, here's the number.
Oh,
Ready?
boy. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to start 6-7 unless they call back.
701
Fart my life, dude.
347 1936. All right, call
Why do
back.
none of these work? Good?
701
Yeah.
347 1936. All right, so that was it.
It's Phone Guy!
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, that was Phone Guy from Five Nights at Freddy's. Who's Phone Guy?
He's like the one that's like, oh, hello, hello, at the beginning of the thing. So, yeah.
So, and then they would play the song from Carmen, you know, the dun 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 dun. Is that part of Five Nights at Freddy's?
I don't believe so.
And then it would kind of cut off, and it would be like, Freddy's coming, Freddy's coming. But here's the crazy thing: when I would say the Five Nights at Freddy's is going on a downslope, right? Like, even the movie didn't necessarily revive it. Do you think it's not? Do you think it's still really
It will
popular?
never end.
Well, I mean,
all the little kids still love it.
they still love it.
Don't even know what it's about.
Rumor was that it was cursed, and people were actually losing their minds, and there was all of this violence
No,
that
Freddy's gonna
was
come for
like
me.
that was associated with hearing that song and hearing the phone guy and like the conversation, what he was saying to you. All of these things were kind of like they would mess with your mind, and then the kids were going out and committing acts of violence, and all the kids had called that number. So kind of like the whole idea of Blue Whale and the Momo Challenge, that idea of like those things were on your phone, or all the kids who committed suicide who had watched what do you call it, 13 Reasons Why, and it's just because that's the way that it was. What country do you want to go to?
What countries are there?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. Why don't we go to Indonesia?
Oh, great.
This is not one to call, so you can put the phone aside for a few minutes. So this is most of this information came from one by the name of, I'm assuming it's a woman named Aldi Rinaldi, which totally sounds like a fake name when I say it out loud now. And this is a story. There's a whole bunch of different sources on this, but this is the story of Mr. Gepend. And it comes from Indonesia. And if my people who speak Indonesian are out there, our audience members, they already know the joke. Because Mr. Gepend means Mr. Flattened.
Okay.
So in the 1980s and early 90s, the story goes that Mr. Gepend was a rich man who was crushed by an elevator. So he was trying to get into an elevator. Sometimes he was crushed by a bulldozer. Sometimes he's presented as being a businessman with a money, like a whole briefcase full of money. Sometimes he's killed by a bulldozer, like in construction. But the story was that after this crushing, he would appear in toilets and bathrooms all around Indonesia, right? And he would report, like, people were literally calling all of these police reports in to say that there was this man in these bathrooms all around Indonesia. He was crushed and covered with blood. Women seated in these bathrooms, going to the bathroom, would actually feel him. And the deal was that you could call him. So we have a whole thing about bathrooms. Do you remember that episode we did? And I'm gonna have to revisit that because I'm actually doing one of the chapters of my book is on Comfort Station. And the ritual is you would go to the bathroom at 11 p.m. What time is it right now? Okay, so this is maybe something you can do a little bit later. You would turn off the light, and from inside, so from inside the bathroom, you would knock 3 times while walking back and forth, so you don't sit on the toilet. You would open the door and he was there, right? That was the original story. It blew through Indonesia, right? And it was one of those deals where part of the reason why it became such a popular legend was because Indonesia was exploding at that time. Not literally, figuratively. Like, there was all this construction. All of a sudden, they were making these huge buildings with, like, they were crazy. It changed. Actually, you can't use your phone for this. This is the number I want you to dial. Ready? All right, good. 7, 7, 7.
It's gonna be all 7s.
All 7s.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please.
Try it one more time.
Your call can.
A lot of these can't be completed as dialed.
So here's the deal. So that was one of those things where 7 is a lucky number, obviously, right?
But you
The
have one
deal
page for
was
one
is that because this is the way I do it. I put the notes here, and then if I need extensions or while the show, I put the stuff here. It's kind of like, what do you call those? Stanford notes? What are they
Ew.
called? What are they called? Stanford notes. In 1967, the tallest building was 15 stories. Today, the tallest building is 69 stories. Which, other than being its own lucky number, that's huge, right? Like Indonesia in the last, 50 years has just become a completely different city, and people were scared, and so Mr. Flattened was a symbol of that. When the phone number part came up, the deal was that you would call the number, and then there would be a knock at the door, and he would appear with the money. Right? Do you want to call that number again to see if we can get that? Because we could use some money.
It's out of service, dude.
It's out of service. Okay, so it's one of those ones that, again, people were reporting all the time that they had gotten that number back in the day, right? Like back in the day, they would call that number, or they knew people would call that number. There's actually kind of a variation of that. Now, part of the reason why that didn't work is that it's an Indonesian number, right? Like, that's the way some of these are designed, is that there are 777, 777, 7777. That doesn't work because there's no country code in there. Do you get what I'm saying? So, if you were actually going to try to call from it, then you have the Thai Death Wish, which is really, really connected to that. So, do you want to try this one?
Sure.
Beautiful. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to call the same number, but replace all the 7s with 9s.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed.
So, do you want to try it again? Always try it twice.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again.
So,
No es posible realizar la llamada.
it's one of those things where this is really interesting, and it's once again worth going to Ghost in Your Machine to see her explanation of what she does for this, because she really digs deep into this one. But there was a Taiwanese, is that how you say it? Taiwanese? Or Thai is, because I guess it's Thailand. Sorry. Usually you have to call after midnight. So what we're going to do is after we end the show, you're going to go to the bathroom at 11, and at midnight you're going to try to call the number again. Someone would pick up, and they would ask you if you would like to make a wish. So if you were going to make a wish just then, what would it be? Just something you would wish for.
I don't know. Look, our oven says 3:33.
Well, that's crazy. There's little numbers going on. All of our clocks say something different because like they were all unplugged. You get your wish. Whatever your wish is, you get it. And then you die. So there was this movie called, in the fall of 2002, called 999-9999, right? And it featured this legend, but the deal is that there are versions of this story with the nines, which is in Thailand considered lucky, the number 9. There were versions of this story before the movie, but then the legend kind of changes. In the movie, a new kid at school gives the new kid, like, he's the new kid, he gives the numbers to them, and they all get their wishes, and then they die in these, like, Final Destination type, like, horrific deaths of, like, heads being chopped off and, like, intricate death scenes. Have you ever seen
Yes, I've seen
Final Destination? Now there's another variant of this too. 'Cause part of the inspiration for it was the same thing. You call the number, and a virus comes through your phone.
Why would you make me call that number?
And this is, watch how you were wondering why I was smiling the other day. A virus of despair comes through the phone. So it's this actual, like, physical sickness. Does that make any sense to you? Like, that a virus of despair?
No.
Like, it's not a computer virus. It's like a virus that enters you, just like the demon of despair. You know?
Oh, like
From evil.
a grief?
Yeah.
Well, that one's not a virus. It digs
So-
inside of you.
It's one of those things where, was it a marketing ploy? Because for a while you could call that number and it would actually, like, have someone would pick up and someone would ask you for your wish and stuff like
I
that.
wish the phone got one.
The people who responded said that Ella has never seen what do you call it, Hellraiser, right? But it's got that "What is your pleasure, sir?" like that at the end. That's the voice that people said they heard, and they said different things. All right, ready? This one's said to still be up. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. 909 390 0003. So talk.
Hello? Hello?
Keep talking.
No, I don't want to.
This is Tripping on Legends. Can you hear us? Hello? Why don't you come
I don't
over
like
here?
that.
Huh?
I don't like
Did you
that.
hang up on it?
No.
All right, we're going to bring it closer
Dad,
over
I'm
here
scared. I don't want to do that.
so you guys can hear. So,
It's muted.
oh, it's me. Why would you mute it? The whole point, this one works because all it does is echo whatever you're saying.
Doesn't seem like it's doing
So it would, and just, but it's disturbing enough that it, like, you know, it serves no purpose. You can hang that up. That's awesome.
I don't know. I didn't even do anything.
So, whoa, you hung it up because my voice is still feeling as if it's echoing. All right. So the next one is 090 444 4444.
Wouldn't even let me dial it.
090
Look, it's not like translating into a phone number.
4444.
Your call can.
Translate into a phone number.
So that was Sudoku's number. And that was, in a lot of ways, inspired by The Ring. And so you would call that number, and a voice would come on, and it would tell you that you were going to die in a week.
Why would you make me do that?
So it's some people feel it's like it was connected to Ringu, like it was like not only connected to the Korean or Japanese version of the Ring, the original, but there was also like a whole bunch of other series. This is a crazy one. You don't have to worry about this because this is like, will they call you kind of thing. In 2007, in Pakistan and a little bit earlier in Nigeria, this whole concept, and this is kind of this idea of red numbers pulls through the rest of these stories, right? So there are references to red numbers in the notes, in the urban legend parts of these cursed numbers, and they were you would get your phone. Now this has never happened to you, right? Your phone would ring. You'd look at your phone, and it would just be these red numbers, right? Like it would be a phone number, but the numbers would be all in red. Not like that. Like you've got your not like that, where you've got your phone set in pink. Like the numbers dialed would be red, right? And it was always different numbers, things like that. The pitch and the sounds that would come out of that would actually give you a cerebral hemorrhage, right? So people were dying supposedly from these red numbers. And so in all these other different stories, you find that people say when they cut the callbacks are red numbers. Red numbers floats through all of these different stories. Now, some of these red numbers, so we're going to have to make sure to lock the door tonight. Some of these red numbers, if you get that callback in red, or if you get a callback and it's in red, you'll get kidnapped. So instead of dying from the actual things that come onto your thing, you would actually...
I hate you.
You would... you'll be fine. As far as I'm concerned. One of my... What's up? Doesn't worry about it. It's all good. One of the ones that I was amazed by, because it seemed to make more sense, right? It seemed to be, even though I looked a lot of this stuff up to check on these names, and that's the Bulgarian death number. And I've heard different versions of this throughout the years. Do you want to try to read this and tell this one and see if you can read my notes?
Yeah.
This is hilarious because no one ever reads my notes. And it's one of those things where, but I have to have a sip of my tea because my voice is going on me. So go ahead.
That it's, so the Bulgarian death number is, I'm assuming it's just 8 over and over or something. It says it's cursed because it's the number 8, which is like a representation of God. Right?
Yeah.
It's unlucky number, especially for people in the East, but it's not connected to Bulgaria.
So that it's not 8 is not specifically a Bulgarian unlucky number. It's just traditionally an
says
unlucky number.
more of us. I'm assuming that means when you pick up, it says more of us.
No, it says more about us and like how
okay.
we think that these curses happen and things
3
like that.
3 stars of Saturn or Sunny. History of bad things happen on 8. Oh, so bad things happen on 8 or like multiples of 8.
Yeah. So I think the number 8 has a connection to Saturn.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So Saturn has all these things. You are the expert in mythology. Do you know anything evil or unlucky about Saturn?
Isn't Saturn
Zeus?
Kronos?
Oh, Kronos. All right, you want me to take back over?
I can read it.
Okay. So the idea is, she's going to read them. The idea is that multiple users, and this again has been in multiple countries. This is just the Bulgarian one, is really, really heavily covered. Go ahead.
So Vladimir Grashov, CEO of a mobile company called Mobitel. He died of cancer in 2001 at age 48. And people say that he was killed by assassination of radiation, which means like somebody tried to kill him by like
right, and he was the first like really visible person to have this number, to have this cursed Bulgarian number.
And I only found reference to him living, so there's no record of like death or anything like that.
Right. One reference to him living in terms of, I love how she's trying to interpret my notes. No one knows. I wasn't even able to prove that the dude even ever existed, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, was it just a
boy?
Go get the charger for my room. Can you? I'm on a bad foot. Please. And I'll take over telling these. She's gonna run to my room on my desk and get this. You'll see it. It's on my desk. The next person who got the number is a guy by the name of Xanantine Dimitrov, who was part of the Bulgarian mafia. and he got the number, and he was killed in 2003 at the age of 31. And they say that rival drug lords from Russia executed him, and that he was actually like on some kind of weird like field trip to check on his drugs when he was caught and he was kind of gunned down. Now, the next person who got the number was a guy by the name of Konstantin Diselev, who was a crooked businessman who in 2005 was gunned down in the capital of Sofia. And he was also thought to be this drug lord who, got it? Who was also thought to be a drug lord who is hiding himself as a businessman. Sorry for those of you guys who are live, and especially if you're listening to this on on a podcast. We just had to like recharge everything. We should have done that from the beginning, brought that charger out. But excellent work, Ella. Give Ella a round of applause for doing that.
Appreciate it.
So it's one of those things where these three men all were said to have this number in consecutive order. And so all of them fell these really violent... first of all, the phone number itself fell into the hands of three really bad men. And then they were all killed in absolutely horrible ways. So that idea has also happened in different locations. Like I've heard references to pretty much every state in the country has had this opportunity to have these cursed numbers. A phone number that people, you call it and it should just be a regular number, but it's disconnected and people share it with each other. They share it amongst themselves being like, this, and you know why this number, it's like, it just has that doo-doo-doo, because like 5 people who had that number all died and da-da-da. This one probably freaks me out the most. Oh my word, look how bright it is there now. Shit these lights down a little bit, please. Okay, I'll do it then. You keep talking.
What am I doing?
Say that person's name.
Where is it? Lucia Joaquin. Right? 2017 in the Philippines. She was alone in the Philippines. The entire country.
All right. So here's the deal.
She was awake at night, and it was really late. And computer or mobile...
You're making it sound like it's a...
Boom!
You're making it
the FBI...
So, here we go.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation
Here we
called
go.
her.
No, that's FB, Facebook, you weirdo. So this is a story of Lucia. So Lucia's name comes up again. Joaquin, who is,
Flirty.
for all intent and purposes, a pretty name, right? Probably not an actual person, right? What was happening is this. It originated from the Philippines, but people were also experiencing it in America. This idea that someone would click into the messenger of their phone. And the reason why this one is creepy and scary is that it was happening. And it was something where the urban legend takes over and takes it someplace. So this was obviously like a phishing exercise, not fish as in like dating, but fish as in like trying to get you. Your messenger would like click open and people would wake up in the middle of the night. And then it would say, please add to close friends. So this person would message you on Messenger. They would kind of be flirty. Mm-hmm. You would talk back and forth. And it was this girl named Lucia Joaquin. And you would respond to her message, right? If you were late at night, you were lonely, whatever. And then here's where it gets crazy. Ready? After you did that, she would eventually say, hey, take a picture of yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And so here's crazy, right? So you would take a picture of yourself, and then after you took the picture and you sent her the picture, say for example you were on your phone and you had a computer, or you were on your computer and you had a phone, your other device would start to ring, right? And if it was your and then you're like, if we were doing this right now, and we were on the computer, you would take a picture, you would send it to her, and then all of a sudden you would get a notification that your webcam was on, right? And if you were doing it on your phone, you would get a notification that someone wants to connect with you. If you connected, you would see a picture of yourself, and she would be in the background looking creepy, just kind of like hovering over your shoulder.
Okay.
Basically, this phishing thing had gotten control of your computer and your phone. This was happening time and time again to people. Like, people were having this weird experience of responding to this, responding to this beautiful woman online, and then all of a sudden, and it wasn't as if anything else happened after that. Like, and that was part of the thing, is that it left this kind of hole of what could be going on, because they had taken control. Like, all of your different devices started going off. Like, we don't think of them as connected, right? But if you think of it, like, you're connected to the TV via your phone, via all this stuff, and it would take over, and nothing was ever stolen or anything, but people would then randomly get a text message of them, something they had done during that day, where a picture had been taken, but they didn't even realize the picture had been taken, and she would be hovering in the background.
Like, what do you mean, like just a random picture?
Like, imagine you were just going through your day.
I don't like that.
Right.
I don't like that. Don't make me call that.
No, there's no number to call.
Okay.
So that's a preventative one. Just like you shouldn't answer the red numbers. If Lucia or any other, hot woman, hot man messages you in the... also, don't have Facebook, because you're not 93 years old. These are I left my two favorites for the end.
Oh, great.
So, do you want to go American or do you want to go British?
British.
British.
All day.
This is...
Can I speak in a British accent? If it's okay?
You can speak in the British accent. This was... You're not going to be able to call this.
Okay.
This was really prevalent...
Do it in a British accent.
This was really prevalent in the 1970s, mainly in Lancashire, London, and Burnley. And so, although there were a whole bunch of other ones that were, once the story was out there, people would get reported from other ones. And actually, I totally forgot, I bought a whole book that has these numbers on it and has some other things attached to it. The number, do I have to keep going?
Yeah.
Do you want me to do a different accent, a different British accent?
Just do a British accent.
All right. Was 2020. And people remember the number slightly different. Other people remember that you had to, instead of dialing 202020, you would have to go click, 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 click. Like, you would have to, like you were hitting. She has no idea what we're talking about. But, like, the phones back in the day, when you hit the thing, when you flashed it, that would be the number, right? So 3 would be 3. Then you would go click it, and then you would pause for the 0, like that. This was especially had to be done in phone booths. So the crazy thing is, the story that I'm going to tell you was a legend trip, right? People would go out to phone booths, they would jam themselves into the phone booth, and they would call this 2020. You would hear an echoing, and then you would hear, help me, Susie is drowning.
Okay.
Or you would hear, help me, Susie is dying.
Okay.
So you would... I know, I wrote
times here.
Thank you for pointing out my mistake to the world. So people were actually going out, and they would call that number from these British payphones.
Help me, Susie is drowning sometimes.
Sometimes drowning. And they would get together and they would go out and do it, and it was, for them, what they were saying, clear as day. Like, Susie is drowning, or Susie is dying. Like, it was a different one, and the voice was said to be, like, bored, and no one knew who Susie was. No one knew how they could save her. No one knew why this was what was being called. Sometimes, before the voice would start, it would be heard saying, like, start test, right? And if you hung up, then you wouldn't get anything more. But it would be, so the idea started to become that they were mishearing it, that it was some kind of test. So, like, what happened is, like, in the 70s and 80s, there were these huge changes in Britain that saw changes in ownership and the technology, all the stuff which was way too confusing for me to totally understand. But they thought that the Susie message was some kind of like way to test the phone lines, right? And like send signals through it and stuff like that. But people remember specifically it saying Susie is dying or Susie is drowning. Right? That it wasn't some kind of they were mishearing it somehow. They had done the wrong number, right? Like none of that. So in other words, it's one of those things where you can say 100%, I know this did not happen, right? Like you hear this all the time in urban legends. I can tell you for 100%, it is not true. And people saying, you can say that all you want. We called the damn number. We called the damn number, and police remember getting flooded, no pun intended, flooded with phone calls of people saying they had to save Susie. So it kind of like overtook the country during that time, to the point where, like I said, there was a whole article about this. It was spread through all these different chains and stuff like that. It happened to me, which is True Stories, which is 14 times. That's in September 2000. That's the one who did this whole big article on it. It was like this crazy thing. And years later, people are still like, every once in a while, like I posted pictures of old British, people are saying that those British phone booths, which still exist, will ring. And when people pick up the phone, right, they'll actually hear again that message, Susie is dying, Susie is dying. And they'll try to like star 69 it. She has no idea. We were talking about this the other night, right? You had no idea what star 69 was. Or was that Devin?
That was me.
People will try to originate the line and they can't originate it. It's as if it's like this phantom that still lives in the phone lines somehow. My favorite part of that story is the fact that people would go to the phone together
And you'd be like,
to
oh,
do
let's
this.
call it.
You know? I remember, because once again, something that you'll never experience. I remember walking by payphones and they would ring. Why in your right mind, especially
Like,
in the
wait a
middle of the
minute.
night?
Wait, you're walking by the phone booth, right? It starts to ring, middle of the night. You know what you should do? Go in there and pick it up and listen to what they have to
But
say.
see,
Like,
it's a modern mindset though. But back in the day, it was like there was you picked it up.
Like literally,
It obviously
worst
has
case
not for you.
like a normal scenario. It could be like a kidnapping trap or something. Like, can you imagine? Like,
See,
if
I mean,
if there's somebody calls the I don't know you can't call the payphone, but like somehow makes the payphone ring. You go into the booth, bam, you're gone. You got kidnapped or murdered.
now nothing like that extreme ever happened.
That would be a good story.
But there would be
the
it would
payphone
be.
killer.
The payphone killer. But there would definitely be times when I was walking through downtown Boston at 2, 3 in the morning, and the phone would ring, and you'd pick it up, and it would be like, "I'm watching you. I'm watching you from my window." Right? Like, and again, there was that mystique, and you knew that it was some teenager, like some college kid, just messing with you. But it was realistic enough, and it was like you were caught up in it. This next one is probably the most elaborate one.
Oh, great.
I'm going to have you call both of these numbers. You ready? The first one is 801.
Does it call me back?
No.
Okay.
820.
820, you said?
801 820 0263. Repeat the number back.
801 820 0263.
All right, excellent. Go ahead.
The Google subscriber you have called is not available. Please leave a message after the tone.
Message.
What am I saying?
say that you're looking to get some information on remodeling.
I'm looking to get some information on remodeling.
If you can give me a call back,
If you can give me a call back.
please, thank you. Did you hang up?
Yes.
Okay, call this number.
Okay.
No,
say it.
All right, ready? 630 296
What about some random man I just called?
7536.
You have reached Booth World Industries. Your number has been logged and traced. A service representative will be with you shortly for remodeling. We at Booth World Industries say thanks. You
What do I
have
do?
a
What do I do?
marvelous day.
What do I do? I'm scared.
Yes, hi. If we
I'm
can
muted,
just
I'm
get
muted,
some
I'm muted.
information.
I'm muted. I'm muted.
Hi, I'm just looking for information on remodeling. If you could give me a call back, I would appreciate that. This is Tripping on Legends. Thank you very much.
She's gonna call. She's gonna call.
All right, now the whole thing is like you have to stay on the line for a little bit.
I'm scared.
So the idea of this is, so Booth World Industries, this was started in 2013 by a horror writer named Christopher Balzano on this No Sleep
I'm
subreddit.
scared.
So the company focuses on remodeling, but it's unclear exactly what that is. Both of these numbers have been used in the past, so we'll hang up because, all right. There's a whole bunch of different
They
series.
blocked my number, dude.
There's a whole bunch of different things. So this one person said in a video that she got a call back, but then she got a call back, and then a text with the 801 number, right? So the original number is the 603. She got a call back that said to call the 801 number. When you called the 801 number, so this is the one that I think is not in existence anymore, there was silence, and then a weird creepy noise, and then a male voice who would recite a series of numbers. Then what sounded like a chainsaw would start up, and a chorus of male voices, and then you would get an answer machine beep. So if you notice, we just went straight to the
But why'd you say click click fishing?
oh, that was from earlier.
Oh.
So other people have said like, oh no, it's not a chainsaw, it's a disaster bell. It's what reminded me of, what's his name? Horn man. What's his name? The urban legend about the horn.
I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about.
Horn guy.
Sounds like a really gross
Anyway,
fear.
people have tried to figure out exactly what these numbers are. So there's obviously
They
like
blocked my phone
it's a
number, dude.
promotional thing.
They're gonna freaking call me back.
Some person said this is kind of crazy. So here are some things that come from
scared.
ghosts in your machine. So someone said I converted the numbers that you get. The numbers you get are 113, 17, 11, 317. So it's kind of like a repeated 11317. I converted the numbers to GPS coordinates, and it's a dirt road. It's a road just off of dirt road in a place called Nuwawa in Guinea. I don't know if there's any significance, but the fact that it's even on land is interesting because, the world being so much water. What's crazy about this, and I think that it's one of the ones that this is kind of hits on everything of why these are interesting. Someone then responds,
You're making me upset, dude.
I'm here in Nawala, standing in the middle of Highway N27, posting this on my phone because I need to tell you not to come. I called every one of my contacts. No one knew who I was. It seems I may not be me anymore. Terrifying, right? And so easily not true, right? Like I could just post something right now being like, I don't have a soul anymore, and it doesn't mean anything. But the hysteria that these create really impacts us. I know this is a very own pulse, but I actually received a text from Booth World number a few days ago a few years back when I was younger. Scared the crap out of me. And they said something on the lines of, "Do you think it's funny to mess with Booth World?" Oh my God! So the person got a text message saying like not to mess with
Why would
Booth
you make me
World.
call that?
It's okay. You'll be fine. It's mostly like completely inactive now. There is no danger in calling Booth World Industries business number. No one has ever been repossessed or remodeled with proven ties to Booth World Industries. Ariana is safe. That was one of the other posters. Please refrain from spreading or believing any misinformation regarding Booth World Industries. Thank you. You have a marvelous day. Which is the same thing that said. It's obviously creepy terror, right? It's obviously like digital horror, like all the stuff that we've been talking about, all the stuff you love. Your face right now looks so terrified, right? If it calls, hypothetically, if they call, it's just like a bot calling back a number that called, right? Does that make sense? There's no such thing as remodeling. There's no such thing. And yet, because it hits on all of our fears that we've talked about, you're shaking. You're so terrified by it. And it's one of those things where when we used to prank call, there was always this sense of detachment from it. Modern urban legends involving phones have bridged that gap because they can text back, because they can find you, because they can find you in terms of like whether it's that phishing, you click the right button on it and so that it's able to track you. You sent it something so it has access. Or you call a number and then it calls you back. There's that classic Nietzsche quote that has been adapted and adopted by the paranormal community, which is, if when you stare into the darkness, eventually the darkness stares back. This idea that you open up a door to unknown and unexplained things when you play with the paranormal. And it's, whether you want to say it's because of religious ideals or what, there's nothing that's going to happen to either of us tonight. But try telling Ella that right now, right? And even me, like, there's that little thing in the mind. I know I have to run out real quick right after this show. And I'm like...
For what?
I have to pick something up.
Okay.
And then we know that it's illogical, but we know a good ghost story, right? We know horror stories. And these have just enough truth and make just enough sense that we feel as if these could happen. Not to mention the fact that, are we ever more than 5 feet away from our phone? Maybe if we're in a pool, right? But really, like, legitimately, we're so connected to it, and we have everything on there, right? Like, right now, you have messages on there that you don't want me to see. You've got apps that are hidden. You've got pictures that are in hidden files, or pictures that you did, right? Like, we all have these things on our phone that are the most personal things to us. They're diaries of what we think about, what we do over the course of the day, what we desire, what we're scared of. They're all on our phone. And these cursed calls kind of strike at the heart of that by saying, what if someone can reach out using a series of numbers? And worse, what if they're able to pull you in based on the idea that you just think it's an innocent game, or you just think you're making a random phone call? Now, if you live in Southwest Florida, there is another granddaddy of them all. Now, if you call
2392, I'm just kidding. I was gonna say my phone number.
Oh, were you? There's a number that you can call, which is a genuine number. Someone just called it a few months ago.
I was thinking the same thing. Rita Lane.
Anyone, because I know I've got listeners in Southwest Florida in the chat room. Does anyone know the granddaddy of all cursed numbers that comes out of the Sunshine State and comes out of where we are, comes out of Southwest Florida.
Congratulations, happy Pride Month.
We're not going to explore that legend tonight.
What, the Legend of Pride Month?
No, definitely not the Legend of Pride Month. I'm just waiting to see if any of these Southwest Florida people are able to possibly. We are not going to explore the one that comes from the Sunshine State tonight, because
Can you just say that and then no?
the focus of this, the focus of it, has agreed to actually come on the show.
Whoa.
So we've got to make it work. But Wrinkles the Clown.
Don't put him on the freaking show. Don't put him on the show, bruh.
Wrinkles the Clown said he would actually
No, you didn't.
do the show with us. Anyone who doesn't know, now we're going to end it here. You guys are not going to get the story of Wrinkles the Clown.
Don't put
I
him
highly
on the freaking
recommend-
Show, dude, I'm gonna cry.
Look at she's Wrinkles is an urban legend here in Southwest Florida, and it's such a complex and beautiful story. If you like clowns and you like creeps, this is a story for you. And oddly enough, Nicole, who some of you guys will remember, was hosting a few years ago. She was hosting, especially during Halloween time when we did the, Ma Barker and stuff like that, Ma Baker. She's good friends with Wrinkles, and Wrinkles absolutely adores her daughter. And so we were going to do a show in what I affectionately call Tripping on Legends Ocala, at that location, where we either get Wrinkles on the line direct or have him directly sit down with us. So that's
In
kind of
costume?
like a little teaser.
Are you gonna put him in
Oh
costume?
yeah, it has to be in costume.
So no.
So I want all of you guys as homework. You were joking about I was giving you homework before. Here's more homework. Go watch the Wrinkles the Clown documentary. Google it. Watch the documentary. And while you're waiting for that episode to come out, we might be a few episodes down the line for that. While you're waiting for that episode to come out, make sure to follow our social media. Make sure you follow us anywhere online you can find us. Facebook, facebook.com/trippingonlegends, or Instagram is at Spooky Tripping. And of course, we are, seeing that I'm so young and hip, we are on TikTok at Tripping on Legends. And I would love, if you are in the area, Southwest Florida area, I would absolutely love it if you know some of the ghostly legends down here, to contact me at any of those things. Go to the website, www.trippingonlegends.com, and let me know what is the spookiest thing in this area to you. Until all that stuff happens, my name is Christopher Balzano,
My name is Ella Balzano.
and here's hoping that all of your trips,
Our legendary.
and we will let you know if she gets a message
No,
from Booth World.
I'm blocked.
So-
Blocked.
Well, you say that. Everybody have an amazing night. Take care.
I hope you don't.
You gotta do it the right way.
How do I do it?
And now.
Don't get sassy with me.
Wait. Shea. There you go, write a caption. Tripping on Legends, episode 39.
Put it on
And I will
pause.
also say goodnight to you guys
Say
here.
what-
Thank
what-
you guys
yeah,
for
what
tuning in,
chap-
for
Hey,
commenting.
you have to give me the name.
Tripping on Legends, episode